think Nick's reading is right. I mean, when you look at it, you are struck by the compliance obligations that they're putting on financial firms that are using payment for order flow. And I think anytime you see something like that, this type of proposal, I think it's helpful to take a step back and just ask the point of departure question, the first principles question, which is what are we trying? What is the harm we're trying to prevent here? And I think the answer is we're trying to protect investors ultimately. And the question is whether this is going to do that or something different. And one of the things I think that we have to acknowledge about payment for order flow is there is a built-in conflict of interest inside of payment for order flow. And that is because if you are executing through a broker and that broker is turning to a market maker, that market maker in general is turning around and paying the broker for that order flow. That's the payment for order flow mechanic. And that's what allows the broker to not charge retail investors a commission. So there is a conflict of interest embedded there. The question is whether how are we best to deal with that conflict of interest? And I think to sort of, before I express that view, I think it's important to sort of understand what payment for order flow has done. The problem with commission-based trading is that, you know, if you have money and you're making big trades, whatever, a fixed commission is not a big deal. But if you're a small investor and you have $5, $10, whatever it is, you know, a commission is going to basically prevent you from trading. But if we're at a point where it's commission free and you can therefore buy fractional shares, and the broker is making money on the flow writ large from all the trades, what that basically means is you've truly democratized the market. Anyone can now participate. And so if you make payment for order flow so onerous, the compliance, which this seemingly does, you make it so onerous that brokers do not want to engage in payment for order flow any longer, then I think the real danger here is that retail investors will no longer have access. You'll go back to the days when you needed to have a certain amount of money to transact. And as a practical matter, that kept out a huge amount of investors. And so what would I propose to do about this? I think the way to deal with this is disclosure. We have some data on payment for order flow and its effect. And what that data is showing us is that some of the money on the table, let's call it the difference between the bid and the ask spread. Some of that money is going to the brokers. Some of that money is going to the market makers, but some of that money is also going to investors in the form of better execution than they used to get. And if the SEC had come out instead and said, you know, we're rather than go at this through the compliance lens, we're going to go at this through the disclosure lens and give investors more information about which brokers are giving you the best execution. I think investors would have been smart enough to basically funnel their trading that way. And I was disappointed that the SEC did not go that route.
Hi, I'm Nick Bruner. I am a very active trader. I've actually made it my full-time occupation over the last 3 years here. And payment for order flow, me personally, has allowed access to the market. Without that, I don't think I would be profitable as a trader just due to frequency, or I would have had to adapt pretty significantly how I trade. On a personal note, I feel like it's a good thing to have options, and I don't see how it's going to hurt anybody to allow the payment for order flow to stay there. Really what's happening is by restricting it, you kind of make it so only the big players are allowed to play in the market. And you know, if that's what you're trying to do, I mean, I don't agree with it. But that's generally what more complexity will do, because less sophisticated people probably won't be able to like make their way through the more rules and regulations or through a commission-based structure, or if it makes the interaction between like the buying and selling process even more clunky with the payment for order flow than it already is. I can foresee there being problems as well, because if there's like more of a lag because they have to fulfill more requirements once orders go through, I can see there being an issue there.
I come at this really from a couple different relevant directions, I think. I have an academic and a research interest in this area. I have a finance PhD and a law degree, and I consult in the area of securities among others. But I'm also a retail trader myself. So when I saw the proposed rule and read through the proposal, really there were a few things that struck me right away. First is that the analysis is not good enough. And I have a lot of respect for the Office of the Economic Analysis at the SEC. And I almost got the impression that they were sort of doing the best they could to respond to their client's request. But there's just no way to know what the effect of this rule is going to be, and the proposed rule acknowledges that. And in my mind, that doesn't meet the statutory requirement to we require the SEC to study their rules for exactly this reason. It's too easy for people to dream up policy ideas that might be good or might not be, but we don't want to let those loose out in this very high stakes world without solid economic analysis. And I just don't think it was done. And I'm not sure that this dramatic change is even that susceptible to an analysis like that. It may just have to be done in a pilot program so we can do a real natural experiment. Related to that, I think that what's sort of is apparent looking at the proposed rule and knowing how it originated. It seems to be very much a politically driven idea and not an economically driven idea. So payment for order flow in particular has driven the cost of trading down to essentially nothing. I mean, zero commission. Ironically, the most expensive thing about trading any security now is the SEC fee that we all pay to support the things like this. So there's a certain irony there, but there's just this really seems to be a solution in search of a problem. I'm not aware of anyone out there complaining that their costs of trading are too high. So this all seems to have arisen from the meme stock craze in I think that was mostly in early 21, and it's possible that the low cost of trading have increased retail participation, which we would think of as good. And it's possible that one effect of that low cost is that people were able through Reddit and things like that to kind of put together groups that, by the way, might not even be legal if they were done by anybody else, to go and attack a stock. But nothing about that was a result of payment for order flow. So again, it seems to be something that when something happens, people search for a regulatory target, and payment for order flow somehow got the bullseye on it. And there's no good reason why that should be. The other concern that I had is just if you try to spin out what might happen here, if this is put into place, is that one of those, somebody out there who's a current market maker is likely going to emerge as the very best at winning these auctions. And especially where the more trades you get, the better able you are to match, orders that are not correlated, that you have a lot more, that's going to allow somebody probably to get a lot of scale. And we may very well end up with what is a de facto monopolist super exchange. And so this, again, kind of goes back to the first point, but is somewhat different in the sense that not only might retail traders get hurt rather than helped by this, we may end up with something that we really don't want, which is effectively a non-exchange market maker that ends up becoming kind of a de facto super exchange, because they have the best technology, and they can win all the auctions. The brokerages will have lost all their power, and we now have everybody dealing with this this new problem out there. So these are the kinds of things that concern me.